Hey, have you ever wondered what you need to do with video, but you're too confused and not sure what to buy and where to go? I'm going to walk you through everything that's in my studio so that whether you're at a conference or whether you're at your laptop or whether you had a great idea for a course, you know what to do next. Come join me. Oh, hey, welcome. I'm Dennis Yu, CEO of Blitzmetrics, and you're here for video marketing for people who suck at video, like me. I'm not a video person. Come with me. Have you ever had your friend who's a professional videographer and they have this camera like this where it has all kinds of fancy stuff and you're like, man, this is really confusing. Like f-stops and aperture and ISOs and it's so expensive and you think, man, I could never do anything like that. Well, I can't either, so you're in the wrong course if that's what you're looking for. But what I do want to show you is 3 parts. First is, how do you make video if you have just your cell phone? There's all kinds of native apps that do amazing things, especially if you have something like the new iPhone. You can even do things like Zoom and Skype and Facebook Messenger. 2, what happens if you want to include a laptop? And maybe you want to do some podcasts. Maybe you want to have better sound. Maybe you're not sure what kind of microphones you want to be able to use. Maybe you want to incorporate a camera for better quality, right? I'm going to show you what this looks like and how to set it up in a way that looks professional without the camera in your face like this. Or the mic in your face like this. Some people, they like to have a lot of equipment in their face. I don't really like to do that, right? I probably want to have it out of frame. There we go. Now it's out of frame. You can see the frame's cut off right here, right? So anything above. So I'm going to show you these kinds of things because of all the dumb mistakes I've made. And then 3, if you want a full studio setup, I wouldn't say professional because I'm not a professional. What do you do about the lights? How about props in the back? How about other ways where you want to have a clacker to be able to say this is what you have? Or you have a whiteboard and you want to know how to film that properly. Or maybe you're shooting 2 cameras. You're shooting one that is tight and one that is wide, right? So you can go back and forth between those. And maybe you want to do things like have a TV. Maybe you want to make sure you have enough battery. Maybe you want to come over here, you can see yourself on TV, right? You got something to drink, some Cocoon water, and you want to see yourself on TV. That's certainly good to have as well. You don't want your cameras to run out of batteries. So you have everything with like the fake batteries you see on both of these cameras. They have these wires coming out showing these fake batteries. We have multiple lights of which most of them are not on. I'll show you which of them you're going to keep on. And maybe you have something like a camera here in the rear where it shows kind of behind the scenes because this is the kind of stuff that people like to see. You're seeing this right now in landscape and we're keeping it landscape and not portrait because when we're teaching courses we want to keep this, longer form content people are going to see on their laptop. So that's our overview. Everything that you need to be able to make courses, do podcasts, hold conference calls, teach on the whiteboard, be able to use different kinds of cameras, to be able to use your phone, to be able to do video on the go if you don't have a mobile studio or you don't have all the different items. And if you want to get pro, that's not me, but you can certainly spend a lot of money and buy things like a Zoom H6, which unless you're pro, I don't think you need anything like that. Or you can have a drone, or you can see that we've got a teleprompter, right? We've got 2 different teleprompters to put the words on the screen if you don't know what to say. So come with me. Let's go talk about how you're going to set everything up because you're going to learn from all the mistakes that I've made. Now, let's say you have just your cell phone. The beauty of having a cell phone is that you have a great camera and you have a front and back camera and you have all these different kinds of apps. So all the things you might see here, come over here, where we come here to Zoom, you can do all of these same kinds of apps right here. You can start meetings. You can come here to Skype. My favorite thing to do is just reply to people inside Facebook as Messenger. You can see like here, Bonnie, she's replied to one of my posts, I think. I think it's a post I made a little bit earlier. Oh no, she made a post about one of my posts, right? All these things that you can do on desktop, you can do on your phone and sometimes even better, right? And you will learn through another module how to use short videos, which we call reply with video, to reply with video on LinkedIn messages, inside Instagram, on Skype, on Facebook Messenger, inside Messenger, inside TikTok and Snapchat and Twitter, all these different places to be able to reply with video, right? Fantastic stuff. We're not going to cover that in detail here because I want to go one step further. Now, let's say you have your cell phone. Guess what the number one problem is of people who are filming with their cell phone? The number one problem people have is not the video, it's that they have bad sound. So check this out. This is a Rode Go, and it's $200. I'm speaking into the microphone, and if you go all the way back, if you go all the way back to the kitchen, you'll still be able to hear me. You can hide, even go back to the living room, and sound level's great. And you can't see this right now, but there's a transmitter which is tied to this iPhone, and then there's the receiver. So these two things, two squares, tell us what's going on. So you just take this and you clip it here, and the sound is a huge difference. So the number one way to have great video on your phone is good sound. And you could even do things like have a dead cat. So come with me, I'll show you. A dead cat is what you put over the microphone. This little thing you can put over the microphone. If you have a bigger microphone, you can put this over a shotgun mic. This is great. It's kind of furry, if you could feel this, right? Kind of nice. So if it's windy outside, you're going to have one of these, and it'll get rid of almost all the noise. It's fantastic. These Rode Wireless Go's are so good that I end up buying many of them. And the thing is, they only pair with one another. So when I have another pair like this, then I can't pair it with another set. Here, I'll just turn it on just so you can see. So I'm going to turn, I have to hold this down for 3 seconds, hold this down for 3 seconds so it turns on. And you'll see that, so this is showing the receiver, this is the transmitter. Transmitter is the same as this one. It'll work at like 40 or 50 yards distance. Friends of mine that are professional videographers are using this instead of their $800 Sennheiser AVX mics, right? If you're using Sennheiser AVX, you're probably like multiple leagues above where I am. But these are so good, and you know, it sucks. I've lost so many videos where I've gone to a conference and I've met some important people, and I wanted to collect a video, and I did collect a video, but the sound was so bad that it was unusable. And that's just a total shame, right? Because you have that one opportunity, you meet someone well-known, and you miss that opportunity. So come down with me at eye level. Typically, when you film with people, you want to be at eye level. So here's the thing that they don't tell you about these wireless mics. So if you have, so what'll come out of the box when you buy this, they give you the receiver and the transmitter, and they give you this cable, okay? Now come here and look at this cable. Come here closer. Notice this has 2 lines on it. This is TRS. This has 2 lines on it. It's TRS. But what you want is a TRRS. You see, this has got 2 lines, and this has got 3 lines. And you might say, well, why does that matter? Because I can just plug this into my lightning adapter, right? You can see this is a lightning adapter. So I plug this into this here, and then this I plug into the back of the iPhone. And it seems to fit, but then you'll find the sound doesn't work. You know why the sound doesn't work? It's because you need this cord if you're going to plug into the iPhone. This one. 2 lines to 3 lines, and you'll see the black and then to the gray. Now, if you're plugging this microphone into this camera, into a DSLR or into a mirrorless camera, then you can use this cord, okay? So it's important that you have the right cord. And I can't tell you how many videos I've lost that I thought were great videos that we've had to retake because I screwed this thing up and I was using this one instead of this one, okay? Make sure you have the right one. The other thing too is that when you're recording on the iPhone and you're using this, which I know is kind of crazy because you have to buy the Rode mic and you have to buy 2 other things. You have to buy this lightning adapter and you have to buy this TRS to TRRS. You have these 3 things. You might record the video, but then you go back to your iPhone and click play and it doesn't work. It's because you have to pull the cord out to be able to then hear it on your phone, unless you have AirPods in to be able to hear it differently, okay? So that's the biggest thing with going on your cell phone is that. Actually, one more thing I want to show you, and it's a portable ring light. A lot of times you won't be in a situation where you've got good light, so you've got to use this, and there's 3 different settings. There's 1, 2, and then 3, which is really, really bright, right? So you can see, so if you have the camera facing at me, so this is when it's very bright, right? And then if I have no light, in fact, let's come over here where it's dark behind this TV, right? So this is poor lighting. See this versus like this versus this. You see the difference? So typically you want to light, this is like a pro thing. You want to light one side of the face. And that's called Rembrandt lighting. So if you see that this side of my face is lit and then the other side you see a triangle here, that's Rembrandt lighting. If it's full on, like if it's here, right, it's straight on to me, this might be more for like news or courses, but if you want theatrical lighting, like you see from masterclass.com, it's going to come more on this side. You see what I'm saying? And if you look at the people that are filming theatrically, like anytime you watch a movie and you see that there's dialogue at the restaurant or in the hospital or what have you, you're going to find that the room is completely dark. And then what they're doing is they have their key light, and the key light is the main light. So coming over here on the right side, and then the rest of the room is relatively dark. And they do that intentionally so that you have that dramatic kind of shadowing. So when you have this ring light, and I think this you can get on Amazon for $17, and it has a rechargeable thing here. So I just plug in this micro USB, and then I can take this and plug it into my brick. By the way, my favorite brick here, this is the Anker brick. I should come over here. Check this out. So I always carry one of these with me. In fact, I keep buying new ones every month because I give them away. And this is a USB-C charger. What's cool about this USB-C charger is that I can charge my laptop off of this. So here, with my laptop power cord, I can plug this in here into the USB-C here on this side, the USB-C. And this has enough power that it'll charge one whole MacBook Pro cycle, or it'll charge my iPhone, I think 6.5 times over, which is really crazy powerful. And you can't do that on a regular battery charger. I think something like this is $130, $140, but I can charge most of my devices just off of that. When I'm recording all the videos on my phone, I also want to make sure that I'm uploading it to the cloud. Because if I'm having it edited by virtual assistants that I hire on my team full-time, or maybe I'm sending it to Fiverr or Upwork to be able to get a gig worked on, like a 1-minute video for $20, or Speaker Reel, or maybe I don't want to do things like After Effects, then I've got to be able to get that over to them. So in a separate course, I'm going to show you how do you use the Apple iCloud and Dropbox and Google Photos and Amazon Photos. Those for external storage, so that if something happens to your phone, all of it's backed up to the cloud. I'm going to show you the difference between those 4 different apps in a separate episode. So hopefully the link will be here, and you'll be able to check that out a little bit later. Okay, so that's what happens on your cell phone. But what happens if you want to do something a little bit better, where you're sitting down, it's in a quiet place, and you want to create some videos? Because it's a course, because you got invited to a podcast, or maybe you want to start your own podcast. So let's talk about what that looks like. So come over here on this side, and let's look at it, what it looks like from my point of view. So if I open up Zoom here, so let's say that you got your Zoom account, and you could, use your GoToWebinar and GoToMeeting or what have you. But let's say I come here and I show the URL and I start the meeting. You guys already know how to do this. Watch this. My buddy Robert is here, and then you see down here, I can click on this video source, and I'm going to change it to what it typically looks like for most people that are doing webinars. So come look at this screen here. This is what everyone else sees. It looks like this. This looks pretty good, right? Not too bad. That's what most people see. Now compare this with changing this to a DSLR. So in this case, I'm running to the Sony a7 IV, but it doesn't matter. Any of us that are video pros, even a $500 camera will work just as well. And this one's like 61 megapixels or whatever, but you see how this is? You see how the color's better? You see how it's just richer? This is the difference when you upgrade to a DSLR. Also, the DSLR you can see is higher. See, the webcam is down here, so you can tell when people are on a webcam because you're having to kind of look up at them from the laptop. You want to be at eye level typically when you're talking to people, right? Because like if you look at me like this, then it's like we're having a conversation. We're at eye level. Go back up high. Now imagine like you're looking down on me. Then that's kind of weird, right? But a lot of the times you see people when they're making their cell phone videos, they're at the bottom, they're looking up. So it's like weird because it's like you're talking to somebody who's 7 feet tall, right? That's kind of strange. So pretend like you're in a conversation and you'll find that this works the best. Now look, this is what it sounds like, or I'm sorry, this is what it looks like when you're looking into the camera. So I'm not looking at the screen, I'm looking here. I'm looking into the camera, and this is like making eye contact. And the best way to think about this is pretend like that's a person's eyeball. And sometimes people will put like an eyeball right below there just to remind them that they're talking to a person, so the camera's not quite as scary. Because if I look at myself, here's a novice mistake I make all the time. If I look at myself like here, then I'm looking down on the screen. And whether you're filming on your phone or you're filming on a DSLR, if I'm looking down in the screen and I'm talking while I'm looking at myself, this doesn't look natural, right? Versus so when you're interviewing other people, you kind of want to look at them, but if you want to make a good experience for the user and for whoever you're interviewing, you have to look into the camera and sort of out the side of your eye, look through the side of your eye, you can kind of look down. The other thing too is that we have a TV monitor. So, which shows me what's going on the screen. So you can see here, if you come around, you can see here on this screen. And my tendency is, and all of us, we want to see what we look like. So if I'm looking at the screen now, like I am, I'm not making eye contact, I'm not connecting with the user. So what I'll do is I'll look in here, and then on this camera, even though I can't see it, it looks like I'm looking into the camera, right? So whether it's on the phone, whether it's your webcam, or whether it's an actual DSLR, well, this is a mirrorless, but same kind of thing, like a bigger camera, you want to look into the camera. Okay, so here's your next purchase that you need to buy. This is called a Blue Yeti mic. This is the most popular of all the desktop mics. And people that do podcasts, people that they're doing webinars, you want this particular mic. I mean, people can argue about which ones are better. I think this is $125 on Amazon. I happen to get it in red. I have several in gray and in black. I don't have one in blue. It's kind of weird. It's called a Blue Yeti, but I don't know of anyone that has a Blue Yeti mic. I won't go into all the details because you can go to YouTube about this, but I'll just tell you this. Notice, with this, I can have so the red means it's on. If I do that and it's blinking, it means it is muted. Oh, why is that not working? Oh, I don't know why that is. And then the other thing here is that I can choose whatever pattern. Most people choose the cardioid pattern, this third pattern, and then you want to point the mic this way towards you. Typically want to have it within 12 to 18 inches. The sound that you're hearing right now is actually coming from this mic right now, right? Even though we have this mic as a Rode mic. And we can switch back and forth so you can hear what does the difference sound like when we're recording with this mic versus this mic. But either way, I want to keep that mic within 12 to 18 inches of my mouth. And you can see this Rode mic that on the DSLR is just out of frame is about, about 12 inches from my mouth, right? If I pull it down, you can see that the mic is here. I don't like to have the mic right here. Some people, they really like this. Some people think it looks really pro when you have this big telescoping arm that comes in. It's like, and you can literally take, those extension, those like clamp arm lamp things that come like this. You can have that and it'll come down and it looks like it's coming into your face, like it's going to stab you, this big metallic thing. I think a lot of people like that look because they think it makes them look technical, but I think the more natural you can be, where you can take this thing, see, hear the sound off of it, take this thing and put it you can see where it is, like you can see just the tip of it right here, put it just out of frame and it's still close enough. So I've actually got 3 mics within 18 inches. And that leads me to another point, a common mistake, is that you want to have multiple mics where you can. I can't tell you how many times I've recorded an interview and the battery died on one of these things, or this thing wasn't plugged in, or we had a lav mic where the wire shorted, or this mic up here had some kind of problem. What you'll notice if you've been on professional interviews is they'll often double lav you. They'll have 2 lavs, or they'll have this and an overhead, right? A guy with a boom pole holding this. And it's just nice to have. And I also like to, if I can, record off of both SD slots on the camera. Most cameras will probably have 2 slots, so if you can record both at the same time, if one card dies, then the other card, almost never happens, like 0.01% of the time, but if it does, you don't want to lose that. And especially if you're like a wedding photographer, you don't want to lose your stuff. So you have your Blue Yeti for the sound. You can certainly still use this as well, but then you have to keep recharging the battery. For your camera, you want to get any one of these DSLRs. You could ask your friends what their favorite ones are. The key, though, is that you want to be able to plug it in with external sound. You want to have a sound input. So come over here and look, this is the one for the sound, right? This mic here, I'm not going to unplug it, and it snakes all the way up here on this pole to this Rode mic that's on the boom pole. And then this one here is my micro HDMI. See, I made the mistake before. I bought a mini HDMI. This is actually a micro HDMI. And then this comes over here to my splitter. So the signal comes here to the splitter, and then it outputs in 2 different places. It outputs to my laptop, and then it outputs to the TV. And I like to see it on the TV. I could even output it to like 4 different places, but I just want to be able to see what it looks like, because sometimes, you want to check the angles right, or if you have a guest, I can put a second chair here, and I want to make sure we're both in frame. If you're filming from a DSLR or some kind of larger external camera, you're going to need this special device. See, I didn't even know about this sort of thing until somebody told me a couple of years ago. This one is a Magewell USB capture HDMI. And you can see this is the HDMI in. So this is coming from the camera. It's going from a micro HDMI to the HDMI, and then it's coming USB out all the way into this USB over here. Now, the thing I don't like about these new Macs, or it's not totally new anymore, but you know how they have just USB-C? So you have to buy one of these things. So I have one of these things. So here I'm reading one of my SIM cards. This one is to my Blue Yeti. So you can see this red one to the red one. And then this one here is connected to the camera. So if I unplug this one, then you won't have the signal, right, for the webinar that's coming from the main camera. If, for example, I unplug this, then, and I'm on Zoom, then you're going to find that Zoom will just default to the regular webcam, right? So you're just fine. And if this mic dies or gets unplugged, because these things will jiggle and sometimes it'll lose the connection, then it'll just default to the microphone that's built into the MacBook Pro. And I find it's actually pretty decent. I know a lot of you guys out there are professional podcasters and you like the purity of having one of these and wearing the headphones, but for me, I find that if you're in a quiet place and you're close to the keyboard, I think the microphone is in the keyboard, you're going to find it's actually not too bad. But certainly get this mic within 18 inches, use this DSLR, you can use this HDMI capture. The other thing that you can use is called this Elgato Cam Link. And you might find these are hard. These are almost as hard to find as toilet paper because everyone wants to do stuff online. This is called an Elgato Cam Link 4K. And by the way, you want to be careful about these video converter devices because if it's not 4K and your camera is shooting in 4K, then you're going to end up with a blank screen. And I had a problem with that. This doesn't say 4K, but it is. I checked it. Also, you can see same thing as this one, right? This one has HDMI in, so this is what comes in from your camera, and then this is the out. So if you have an older MacBook Pro or an older laptop, you can just plug this into the USB. This one's smaller. This Cam Link is probably the most popular of the ones that people are using. But I found that this one gets warmer than this other one. I think this is like $149, and this other one's maybe like $300. So, you know, just get one of these. And certainly you could skip this in a way by getting like a Canon camera where you don't need to get one of these, or you could use one of these other streaming devices, or you can stream off of a webcam, but I find a webcam just really doesn't look as good, and I think it's worth $1,000 to get the camera. And just try it, right? Again, let's take another look at this and see what it looks like. So this is what it is on the nice camera, and you can look at it on this screen too, just to be able to check it. This is with the nice camera, and then this is with the laptop camera, which as you can see here on the laptop, and the colors are different. The other thing to notice too is that Zoom has a feature that lets you, I forgot what it's called, but it's like smooth or beautify, where it makes you nicer looking. So look at this. This is making my skin look nice. It gets rid of the blemishes. It's a little bit grainier. And then look at this one over here. This one you see is like not as smooth. You can see the red in my eyes, this kind of thing. So if you don't like how you look, then just film through Zoom and then you get this beautiful picture. I think maybe they'll put in an option to make you skinnier too, right? Where you get to lose weight. That'd be a lot of fun. So do you want to look like this or do you want to look like this? And some people on Zoom, see, it doesn't look so much better. You have more depth of field. I can even come here and adjust this focus. Look at this. I can adjust the focus to go all the way out, right? And that determines like how much of this zoom I want, or come all the way in and get more of the background blur. I like to have it closer like this because remember, everything I want to have is within arm's reach. So within like 3 or 4 feet, I want to be able to reach it. I have short T-Rex kinds of arms. So for me, so like here, now I'm able to press the record button from here, right? So with this lens, that's a 14-24 Sigma lens, because it's able to shoot wide, I don't have to be, the camera can still be close to me, and it still gives me that nice depth of field. The depth of field is like portrait mode, right? That's the kind of thing I want to be able to show. That's what, when we blur stuff in the background, that's what makes things look really nice. That makes it look pro, right? Even someone like me who sucks at photography, if I just put things in portrait mode, everything looks pro, right? So you want to have your video in portrait mode, and you're not going to get that off of a webcam. When you have a webinar, and the first thing is you have good sound, right? Either here or here or here. You want to have light coming on one side, which is the key light, and then you want to have maybe a fill, I think it's called a fill light, where you can see, can you see the shadow, or not the shadow, the sort of like the white reflection on this side? So watch what happens. I'm gonna turn some of these lights on and off so you can see what the difference is. So if I turn this off, And I like this little backlight too. This is the 3-point Wistia light. So Wistia likes to light people from behind, right? So you see here, notice how the light is coming here on this one side and it's lighting this side of my face. So if you look at movies, notice like one side of their face is always dark. And it's like, how is it that in an office, like most of the office is dark except for this one side this way, right? It means the room is dark. You would never see anything like this. So what you do is you have one light that's coming from the side like this. And then you want to have a little bit of a highlight on the side. So that's where you have this light. You turn this on. And this is what is this one called? A Fovitec. So I have it down all the way. And then look, I can make it really bright, right? This is a portable light too. I can put it in my luggage. So if I'm traveling to a conference, I can bring this. But I want to have this just at the right level where it gets just enough of a reflection on this side of my face. So now, you see like having this light here adds just a little bit of reflection here. And that's what makes the difference. This is what people want to be able to see. This makes you look really pro. Because the room is dark. I turned off this other light, which is basically an overhead light. I have just this light on the side. And then, just to make things more fun in the background, I'll take this puck light, this here, and then watch what happens. If I have this off, it's just kind of boring in the background, right? Actually, that one needs to turn off too. See, I have 3 of those puck lights there, but then look at how much nicer it is when I turn this on. See? And I can change the color, make them all red. I don't like red. I think red is like going to the place down under. I don't think you want that. Maybe the blue, right? I think a lot of people like the blue and the purple. That's really cool. And you'll notice that in order to look pro, you want to have yourself lit up and the background is dark. And then maybe you have a couple little highlights in the background. And some people, it's like they're in a disco where the room is dark. You can clearly see there's like a light that's on their face. And then maybe a couple of these highlight sorts of things. You can get these things all day long on Amazon for almost nothing. Plus this green light back here, you get something like that for like 10 bucks, right? It's fantastic. And just doing that with the DSLR, you already look pro. And that'll get you there. If you're doing this on a budget, let me tell you what the cheapest things are that you can get. So first off, you probably don't want to do these because I think these are like $150, $200. And I think that's kind of a lot of money if you want 2 of those lights. Then these box lights here, actually come with me over here. These box lights cost maybe for $120. And what's cool about this here is that I've got 5 different lights here. So I can turn them all off. I know it's kind of dark here. And like that. So I got them all off. Now I've got 5 different lights in here. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights that are on. That's probably too much. I'll go down to just 3 lights, right? And then if I wanted to, like during the day, you see these windows over here? These 3 or 4 big windows? There's so much light that comes in that when the DSLR or this camera is pointing at me, with all this light coming in this way, it makes me dark. So it looks like witness protection program, right? So I turn dark. So in order to compensate all the light that's faced, because whenever you're filming into the light, whatever you're looking at is going to turn dark. So you almost never want to film straight into the light or film exactly the other way. You want to film kind of on the side to give you that half-sided look. So to compensate for that, during the day, I turn all these lights on. So I'll come here and I'll go like this. So that's 5 more lights. Then I'll turn 2 more lights on. So now I have 5 plus 5 plus 2. That's 12 lights that are on. So you see how bright this room is over here? Now that I got all these lights on, look what happens here on this DSLR when I have all the lights that are on. It's like way too bright. I kind of want to squint. I'm already kind of squinty, but you can see there's so much light here that it's unnatural, and I sort of have to wince a little bit because there's so much light. So when you have a fancy camera like this, you can be almost in the dark, and it looks like you're in the dark. And maybe on actually the iPhone's pretty smart with light, but you can be relatively dark, and it'll be good. But during the daytime, I actually have to turn these lights on because there's so much light coming from over here. It has to compensate that. If you're filming in a conference room, and let's say it's one of these beautiful views from like the 50th story, because you look at that, you're like, oh yeah, there's an amazing view outside. What you need to do is have these really strong lights that are pointed at you so you don't get blacked out. Because what happens is the light out there is so bright that it'll just black you out, right? You need that light that's shining onto your face. So now look at how nice this is, right? On the DSLR, it's looking very good. On the iPhone, I'm sure it's still looking pretty good as well. So really just simple things with lights. Main thing is the sound. If your lighting sucks, that's okay. But if your sound is bad, people will leave you right away. So make sure you have that in place. And notice how many things I have out of frame. Now, because you can see this on my cell phone, or see it on the DSLR, you can actually see all the different things that I have. So from my point of view, you can see I've got this mic, I have different kinds of props, I have something I drink. You always got to keep something to drink, right? Just slightly out of view. And then I'll have other cool little things. Like check this out. I'll pull out stamps, like this. I always have these different kinds of props. Check this out. So, we do a lot of Facebook marketing. So I'll show Facebook Blueprint, right? And there's different cards. This is something that Facebook gave us in an event. Or maybe I'll show, check this out. This is a $10 billion note. Can you imagine that? $10 billion? How many zeros? How many zeros are in $10 billion? From the Bank of Zimbabwe, when they had runaway inflation, this is almost the largest note that's possible. I think I had a $100 billion note, which is crazy, right? I bought these on eBay before they became super, super expensive. Now they're really expensive. And then here's another thing. I like to send out gifts, so check this out. I like to get stamps with people's names on them. So this one it says, Dennis Yu, Certified Facebook Strategist. Isn't that kind of cool? So then I'll take this. Look, Dennis Yu, Certified Facebook Strategist. Isn't that kind of cool? That's kind of nice. Or you can buy something like this for $7 on Amazon Prime. This is a like stamp. So I can take this and I can go, isn't that nice? I can do a dislike button too. I don't think people like that as much. Maybe if you're snarky, you can do that. Oh, let me show you some of the other things I like to put in the background. I think this is kind of subliminal. Like when I was on CNN and they had me come in on Skype, I would do things like put the Blitz logo back here, right, which is a metal sign, or I'll show a diploma, or I'll promote friends' companies. Like my friend Josh, he has this snow teeth whitening, so he's a 9-figure company selling. This teeth whitening actually works. I'm an affiliate. Or maybe those people who go to Digital Marketer, they know about War Room, so I won the 2019 Wicked Smart Award. This is kind of cool, right? Just to show that there, or fun little props like this. Isn't that kind of neat? I don't know where this came from. I think it's called a buckyball. Let's see. Facebook mug. I got this from Facebook, Menlo Park headquarters. I got a guitar, I have a ring light. Look, I can juggle. See, I do all kinds of tricks to be able to teach people and get people's attention when I'm making video. And then there's things like this, like we'll go to Facebook and they'll give us these things when we go to meetings, right? I think it's fun to make props. I want to have everything that I would need though when I'm on camera within arm's reach. So I also like to put stuff under the table. And my favorite thing to put under the table is this thing that we call the master presentation. And you guys have probably seen it before, right? We're taking our guides and we're printing them. And you probably have a PowerPoint. You probably have some kind of presentation. But when you have something like this where it shows your knowledge, it's like the power of having a book, right? When someone's got a book out, it's like, wow, they have a book out. Like, holy moly, this thing is 1,200 pages. This is just one volume of multiple volumes, right? That's really good to be able to use on camera as a prop. And it's nice to be able to turn to a diagram and be able to just point to it like it's out of a textbook. It's like somehow when you're pointing to this thing that's printed, it's holier than just mentioning it. And it's maybe not as interactive as drawing on the whiteboard, but there's pros and cons of all of them. Another thing is that when I'm teaching, like we're doing now, I'm showing you guys how to do video marketing for people that suck on video. Just out of view, you can't see this on the main camera, but you can on my phone if you come over on this side, is I've got these little cards here. So you can actually see where we are, right? We talked about the intro on who this is for, people who are not video people, and why you want to do it, and what equipment you're going to buy. What happens if you have just a cell phone? What happens if you have a cell phone and a laptop? Come over here so we can actually show you. What happens if you have a cell phone and a laptop, and what kinds of things you can do with it? So I talked about the box light and the ring light, video converter, podcast, webinars, courses, and now we're about to start talking about multi-camera. So I'm just going from piece to piece, and it's out of frame, so you can't see it from the laptop webcam, and you can't see it from the main webcam, but at least I know where we are. Because even if you have a good memory, you're not going to remember all the main points you want to have. Not that you want to write everything out verbatim like you would have for a teleprompter, but you want to know what the main points are. So when you have a video editor that's going to come and turn this into a video, it's not a crazy amount of effort to try to turn it into a course, right? So let's talk about multi-camera. This is where things start to get sophisticated. Now remember, we talked about going from just your cell phone to your laptop and maybe one camera and a microphone. And now we're going to talk about multi-camera. And this is just something that I've thought of. Remember, I'm not, full disclosure, I'm not a professional video person. You guys have friends that are wedding videographers, and maybe they work in Hollywood, movie producers, they've won films and all that, and they'll look at my techniques and say, oh, everything Dennis is telling you is wrong. But there is one thing that I do that they probably don't. I know from direct experience as a non-video person what kinds of things are valuable, that are just, good enough. I'm not trying to win an Oscar. I'm not trying to become Steven Spielberg. I'm trying to teach people. I'm trying to do marketing in a way that works. So come over here. This is what we've been filming right now. And you can see we've been going for 46 minutes. And you can see the lighting. You can see my head here on this part of the screen is in the lower thirds, or the thirds. So if we look at the screen here, so right, if this is the screen, this is the middle, this is what most people do. They film themselves in the middle. That's usually not good because it's just, there's many reasons. And so in photography and videography, they talk about the rule of thirds. So if you draw a tic-tac-toe, you always want to put the person's face where that intersection is in the rule of thirds, right? So any one of these boxes here is usually the best place to do it. And because of that, notice here, we didn't put the seat in the middle. The seat is over here on the right side. Now this one is filming you can see it captures most of the TV, and it captures me, and this is what we call the wide shot. So even though this camera is closer, because of this lens, it's actually wider. Now come over here to this other camera. This is an A7 II, and if I turn this on, you're going to see, lighting here is not quite right, but here we go. You're going to see that it's actually capturing, it's much tighter, right? Now if I pull all the way back, that's a wide shot. So this is when we're wide. And now watch what happens when we zoom in. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Now, if I'm sitting here, I'll show you. If I'm sitting here, and now my face is occupying most of this, and I can speak to this camera, I can speak to this camera, I can speak to wherever the phone is. And what's nice is that when you're interviewing people, if you can show from multiple angles at any point in time, it keeps resetting the attention. If you have the same frame that stays for 30 seconds or a minute, people are going to lose attention. So you have to constantly be shifting angles because that's what people are looking at. And sometimes you can do things like have a video effect, or you can have a bumper, or you can play some B-roll, or you can put up a slide. There's other ways to try to keep people's attention. Now, one of my favorite things to do is turn the TV on. And the cool thing about the TV is that I can come here, and by the way, I have an Apple TV. It doesn't matter what kind of TV, just make sure it's 4K. If I click here to Apple TV, you have to be on the same Wi-Fi network for your laptop as well as the TV. Then this will stream to this source in the back. If I have this set up properly. I forgot how to use this. Oh, here we go. See? Now I'm in the back. Now check this out. Isn't that kind of cool? And so what's happening is that what's on my TV screen, or I'm sorry, what's on the laptop is what's showing up on the TV screen behind. Now, what I might do is, if I'm giving a presentation, I'll come out of here and I'll go to something like here, like let's talk about, what happens when you're going to start your agency. So imagine, let's go back over here so you can see what the camera's seeing, right? So let's say that I'm giving a presentation. I'm saying, hey, if you want to start an agency, I would love to, in fact, let's do this. If I were to actually do it, I would do view, enter full screen. Isn't this really pro? So I can say, hey, if you want to start your agency, our buddy Glenn Vo has he's a dentist, and he has 19,000 other dentists that follow him, and all of them would love to get help from him. Justin Martin's a real estate agent. He's helping other real estate agents. He's a real estate agent helping real estate agents. Tommy Mello is the #1 garage door guy, $30 million in revenue, and he's helping other home service businesses, right? And I could be talking and going through these different slides, explaining stuff. And now the beauty is, when you have a TV behind you, you don't need an A and a B cam, and you don't have to record off of Zoom or off of Screen Recorder or QuickTime. Probably if you have a Mac, you probably can do your screen recording off of QuickTime or Loom. But if you're lazy or you don't want to spend money on a video editor, then just get your presentation onto this. And just like a weatherman does, you're pointing at this and you're narrating different parts. You're saying this, and here's how you do this and this and this. And you just walk through these different components. And that way you can film this off of just one camera. So if you have a presentation and you want to use just one camera, you can make it look like you have two cameras by doing something that's called a punch-in. And a punch-in is where you have a wide shot and you're shooting in 4K, and then you just punch in and you zoom in close as if it's another camera. Another way to do it is you have this wide shot, and then all of a sudden you shift me over to one side, or you shift me over to the other side, or just zoom in on one part, and it looks like you have multiple cameras. If you're only shooting in HD and you try to do a punch in, then it's not going to look as good. It might look grainy. So I do like to have 4K cameras, which are still relatively cheap now. This Sony a7R IV shoots in 61 megapixels, which is well beyond 4K. And if you want to go crazy, you can get a red camera that shoots in 8K or 12K, which now you're looking at, $60,000, $100,000. But then the memory that you have is going to be crazy. The file transfer is crazy. Most people don't even have monitors. They're going to be able to render that anyway. But I'd say, try to shoot in 4K, and that way you have many different views to keep resetting people's attention. Now, the other thing is that notice that when you're seeing the screen behind me is very bright. So if I don't have enough light coming at me on the side, it's going to make me dark. The same is going to be true on a whiteboard, or the same is true if I've got the sun behind me. It may make me look dark, so make sure you have that balanced lighting. And I'm not a lighting pro. Some people will say, try to take the ISO up. Same thing with the whiteboard. So we haven't moved the light to be able to film on the whiteboard, but notice that you even have a reflection here, right? Do you see the reflection of the light that's over here? So you always want to have indirect light. So the light that we have over there is to film me obliquely, right, from one side, because I'm sitting here and the light is over there. But now if I'm trying to draw something here with the markers, you want to have light. So let's say I'm drawing, you want to have light that comes on either side. So you take this light here and have it shoot this way. And then I would take this light here and I would move it over here and have it shoot this way. So I have lights that are pointing sideways at it, and maybe one that's shooting slightly up at me. That way it's mostly indirect light. And then of these lights, I'm going to shoot them through some kind of filter or through some kind of screen to diffuse the light as much as possible. So there you have it. These are all the different ways that you can create video. I'll mention a couple other things. So you see that chair over there is where I might have a second guest. So if I'm having two people on a podcast or episode, I would have these two chairs side by side and then move the camera back maybe just a couple inches so that I can have two people in there. A couple other considerations is that you hear a lot of people talk about going live, and maybe they're using StreamYard, maybe they're using another one of those tools, maybe they have like a Blackmagic ATEM Mini, and those are all great to be able to switch between different tools. Or you can even have Switcher Studios, which is a virtual camera that switches between the different sources that you have. If you want to learn more about that, follow Luria Petrucci, who is the founder of Live Streaming Pros. If you want to learn more about general video technique in terms of scripts and how you're able to project energy and sell, follow Owen Hemsath, who is the video guy. I remember Owen from many years ago from his studio in San Diego. If you want to learn how to sell in long-form commercials because you have a direct-to-consumer company, you're trying to sell like a Squatty Potty, then follow Daryl Eves or follow the folks over at Harmon Brothers. These other guys take video to another level, but they're not within range, I would think, of people that are spending less than $100,000 on their video equipment. Because those videos cost $500,000 to $1 million to produce. And if you look at the equipment and the sound stages they're running off of, it's full-on actual Hollywood level production. If you're like me and you want to get by on $1,000 or $2,000, and maybe even that seems like a lot of money, remember, all you need is something as simple as a mic like this. You can even get a cheaper mic for like $15 or $20. Like I like to use these PowerDewise mics. I think it's like $23 if you go to Amazon, and you can just mic yourself up. You just clip yourself. Like I would literally take this and I would clip it to the desk, or clip this here, or clip it to the desk as long as it's within 18 inches. And these are two of them actually. So these two come into a single. Notice this is the triple. Remember we said TRS and TRRS. This has got the triple. It has 3 lines on it. So this thing, yeah, this is the power. You see, it's the PowerDewise. It's actually 2 mics that come into this one input. I think it's like $23. Maybe it's like $30, right? Maybe a little bit more, where more people are trying to do stuff. So, the microphone's important. If you want to spend a little more, get this kind of mic and put it on a boom pole. Get a Blue Yeti, which is $125. I wouldn't recommend spending, $750 on one of the Sennheiser AVXs unless you want to. And in terms of lighting, you can see I have 5 or 6 lights, but really all you need is one of these box lights that'll be $40 to maybe $120. If you want to get one of the fancy panel lights here that are easy to pack up, maybe that costs a few $100s. But really the most expensive thing you're going to have is this camera. And you could spend $20,000 if you want it on camera, but if you don't know how to do lighting properly or get sound properly, the camera's not going to be able to make up for that. And I know that, and other people have told me that. I happen to really like Sony, but you can do it with Nikon or Canon or whatever your favorite is. It's kind of like Mac versus PC. Maybe you want to learn how to do video a little bit better. You could follow a full-time filmmaker. I think it's $700. He's got a course. It's very, very good. You could watch YouTube videos as well. All the manufacturers have them. Check this out. I've got a bunch of these cords. I've got more of these lights. I have booklets that I use. I've got others, more and more cords. I have a drone. Look, I've got 3 or 4 spare batteries for my Mavic drone. See, there's the battery thing. I've got straps. I've got over here my Sony, so I have my A7 II battery, and this is the Sony battery, which is the Z100, so I have 2 of these. I have these always ready to charge. Also for this camera, this is cool. I've got a dummy battery, so you can see here. What I'd have to do is keep changing this battery, but instead, I have a dummy battery that here is plugged into AC power. So this runs all the way to the power strip, right? And look at all the other things that I have down here on this power strip. So I've got my MacBook Pro cord right to my laptop. I have another charger for my iPhone. You can't get too many of these. I have these all over the place. I have backup batteries for my main camera, even though I'm using a dummy. I have the charger for this thing that powers my switcher. I have ones for the lights. And then I have the same thing over there too, for the different TVs, for my Apple TV, and other stuff that I just want to charge. So I've got lots of cords here. If you're a purist, you're probably going to say, well, Dennis, you've got a cord monster issue. You need to clean this up. But hey, I think sometimes getting it done is better than being perfect. And if you're someone like me where you just want to get something done and you know that you can get 80% of the effort for 20% of the cost, kind of like a Pareto principle, then I hope this is valuable to you. So I want to hear, what do you guys think about this? How far along are you in your video setup? Everything that's moving towards digital and you being able to produce video in your house is so key. If you don't have a video studio or a spare room, then take part of your living room, maybe part of your office if you have an office, and turn a corner of it into your video studio. The key is you want to have an area that's dedicated just to video. If you have to set up the video each time, or if you have to go to a friend's house to do the video, then when you have that idea, you're not going to want to get around to it because it's too much effort, right? So try to have a video studio. Try to get a couple of the basic pieces of equipment. You don't have to get fancy. You can always upgrade later. And you'll find that your video quality is going to be so much better and people are going to notice it. And you can look at some of the before and afters of what I had when I first started doing videos and simple little webinars things, which is really crappy. I think I had 300, 400 webinars where it was shot just through the webcam. And I thought, that's not too bad. But then I saw what happened when I filmed through a DSLR and I saw it actually wasn't that hard to do. I'm like, man, I wish I would have done this switch a lot. Okay, last section, considerations, mistakes. I've made so many mistakes in video. In fact, I'm making a ton of mistakes right now in video just because I want to get something out and show you, right? If I were to do things perfectly, I would get all the lighting and sound done and demonstrate exactly how to do a Zoom, exactly how to do Skype, exactly how to do Facebook Live, exactly how to switch between different monitors. But sometimes it's better just to get it in there. So what happens if something like the Wi-Fi dies? What happens if your mic dies? What happens if your guest shows up late? What happens if everything crashes and you have a webinar with thousands of people on it? These are the things that I want you to learn how to be able to overcome, because as you make more video, I promise you that these things will happen. Number one, when something ridiculous happens, just like you're speaking on stage, same thing with the webinar, is not to freak out and not to give the problem attention. So if you, for example, have this die, right? The slides die or they freeze, then just keep talking through it. If your video dies, just keep talking through with the audio. I even had it where the Wi-Fi dies. I was on a webinar with, I think it was 4,000 people a couple weeks ago. Can you imagine that? 4,000 people are watching you, you're all prepared, you're filming it professionally, and then the Wi-Fi dies in your house. Then what do? I just take my phone, I connect to the Zoom, and I walk out to the park, and I'm just streaming on my phone. And then showing people how I do ads and analytics and make videos and all that right on my phone, right? And I think my feedback was even better because people are like, wow, I didn't know that you could actually open up all this stuff on your phone and demo it. So you can take a negative and turn it into something that's positive. Also, have multiple microphones. Don't do just one microphone. Have one up here just in case. Have one here, especially if you have a very important guest, because batteries die all the time. Something malfunctions, a cord is broken. I literally had to spend a whole week trying to figure out why I couldn't get my DSLR to talk to my laptop. It was because I had a bad cord. It wasn't because of HD settings. It wasn't because of a software issue. It wasn't because of some kind of key. It was because I just had a bad cord, and only from ordering a new cord on Amazon could I figured that out. This HDMI splitter is great. It's not necessary, but I like to be able to see how things look on screen. And plus, it just looks more pro. One of my cool little tricks is if I'm making 15-second video replies, because I'll reply an email, I will take the phone and I'll point it at the screen while I'm looking in the camera. And that's just like a much cooler effect than doing a selfie style video, because then they can see that you're part of the studio. Another thing I'm not showing here is the Blackmagic ATEM Mini, which allows you to switch between different sources on the fly. It's not the same thing as this splitter, which is taking one signal and pushing it into 2 or 3 different places. A switcher is you have multiple sources and you're plugging it into like a Zoom or something. Zoom can only take one video input. So you need a switcher to be able to say, go from the A cam to the B cam to this other guest to Skype to, whatever it might be. And that's if you're really pro and you have different kinds of effects. We talked about Apple TV. You guys know that I can come here and go, if you're on the same network, I can have my iPhone and actually stream my iPhone back here. I can put my laptop back here. My friend Mark has a Samsung and he's actually able to put his Samsung here. So that's pretty cool. Teleprompter, if you have a friend or if you yourself are not that good with speaking based on bullet points, you could have everything written out word for word. It's not going to sound as good or as authentic, but it's better than having like 15 or 20 takes. So there you go. This is everything that I think you need to know to have a full video production studio on a budget, and if you are not a video person. This course is for you if you are new to video and you just want to get things going, right? You don't know what to buy, you don't know what to do, all the equipment looks fancy, and you don't know what the different terminology is. By now, having gone through this course, you know what you need to do with your cell phone and a list of the different apps that you need to have. You know what happens when you're using your laptop together with your cell phone and other kinds of devices. And you know what happens when you have a multi-camera setup, when you have other considerations like lights, external monitors, and a whiteboard. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm Dennis Yu, CEO of Blitzmetrics, and I want to see you kick ass on video.